Now, Cooperative Governance and Traditional Affairs Minister Velenkosini Hlabisa has announced he plans to disband dysfunctional municipalities. This move has been welcomed by some of the stakeholders, as some of the municipalities have been struggling to function properly. Joining us is Executive Director at Corruption Watch, Karam Singh. Karam Singh, thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. The new minister has come in guns blazing, a very firm stance that he's taken. Lots of people who have also welcomed this as music to their ears too. As Corruption Watch and all the work and the reports, investigations you've done when it comes to local government corruption, what is your reaction to this?
First, the reaction is one of cautious optimism. It is encouraging to see the new ministers, particularly the ministers who are from the other parties who've joined the GNU, making these strong policy statements. So we know that local government really has been plagued with challenges of dysfunctionality, of qualified audits, and serious allegations of corruption and maladministration for years, to the point where there is a sense that we're at a crisis point. And there does need to be strong interventions from local government, but this has to be done in coordination with oversight in provincial government, and it also must include meaningful engagement with local communities, because it's ultimately the communities on the ground that are most badly affected by the lack of service delivery that we see as a result of failing and corrupt local government.
Yeah, it's one thing to then dissolve those dysfunctional municipalities. I just want to go back to a Corruption Watch report from 2021. It was titled South Africa Needs Clean Hands. And in that report as well, it found that most of the corruption that was going on at a local government level was due to bribery as well. Could you tell us more about that?
Corruption Watch received lots of different allegations from the public around allegations of corruption across government, whether it be the police, state-owned enterprises, provincial and national departments. I think historically, since Corruption Watch was established, we've received lots of complaints from local government, and a lot of those complaints are about challenges in the offices of the municipal manager, in the offices of the executive mayor, where there are allegations around bribery, allegations around irregular employment, abuse of power, and in many cases we see allegations around irregular procurement that takes place at local government. So these are indicative of the types of challenges that are out there. And I think, it does also correlate with some of the findings that you do see in the reports of the Auditor General, and the fact that, of the 257 municipalities in the country, it's alleged that we have over 120 municipalities where there are ongoing investigations led by the DPCI. So this shouldn't be news to anybody that we have these kinds of corruption challenges, including challenges around allegations related to bribery.
While it may not be new as well, in terms of disbanding these municipalities, how will that assist, should that happen?
This is why, I responded to your initial question by saying that I'm cautiously optimistic, because obviously the devil will be in the detail, and we need to really engage further with CoGTA in terms of how they see these disillusions. I think what they're talking about is a situation where, there's strong allegations of maladministration and corruption against officials, and, the ability of national government in coordination with provincial government to be able to remove leadership of in municipalities where there are these allegations. But of course, there are constitutional challenges around this because of the type of protection afforded local government in terms of it being a constitutionally independent sphere of government.
And also, it does affect, as you mentioned earlier, Mr. Singh, of course, the communities as well, but also it affects the business of those municipalities, which also then has an effect, a domino effect on the provinces as well. Just taking a look at that example of in 2021, staying in that year, that when Clover moved its cheese processing plant from Lichtenburg in the northwest due to poor service delivery, and then moved it to Queensburg in KwaZulu-Natal. So when you have an impact not only on the residents as well, but also on business as well, it has a domino effect that does affect the bread and butter issues when we also look at the pandemic that went on as well, and what some of the corruption that went on at local government there. We remain cautiously optimistic, but should they be able to turn it around, this will be good news not only for business and those residents, correct?
Absolutely. Local government is a key part of our democratic system. It's really where services are meant to be delivered to the public, directly. It has to be based upon, the financial wellness of the municipalities. And I think this is where some of the big problems lie. The fact that municipalities are owed a significant amount of money from citizens, from consumers, but also in some cases we have a situation where municipalities have racked up huge debt. In terms of the metros, if you look at the metro of Tshwane, you're talking about hundreds of millions of rands that are owed to Eskom. So there is a real question around the financial viability of local government. And if we don't fix it, it will have an impact upon services, and it will have an impact upon economic development, because businesses will move with their feet in a context where they feel that it's not viable for them to be able to run their businesses because of maladministration at local councils. So it is a crisis. It's great to see the new minister out front, and as civil society, we would, support, strong initiatives to try to fix this, particularly from the standpoint of anti-corruption. But I'll go back to my initial point that it needs to be done in a manner which doesn't leave local communities behind, where there is real engagement on the ground with communities, because it's in those local communities where people know where the challenges are, and where the service delivery failures are taking place.
And as you said as well, the devil will be in that detail as well. And while we may have a strong stance from right up top from the Minister of CoGTA, those municipal managers, those officials in those local government municipalities as well, many of them still remain in their positions. So one might wonder how then this will all then trickle down, while we may seem to have apparently the right leadership up top right now. But what then happens on the day-to-day if it's already been systematic and endemic in those local government structures?
Absolutely, and this is a failure, of oversight that's not a new. It's not a new phenomenon. CoGTA nationally, the provincial CoGTAs have been aware for decades now of the challenges that are being faced by local municipalities. We get adverse audit findings annually from the Auditor General, yet things seem to kind of continue as in business as usual. Even in the Western Cape, where we have better functioning municipalities in terms of audit findings, we still see the devastation in informal settlements, in townships, particularly when we have this kind of extreme weather that we've had, in terms of the impact that has on local communities. So this needs to be a priority of the new administration. I think it's all hands on deck in terms of getting a broad support for CoGTA, and whether it be pulling in support from the private sector or from civil society. But it's very possible that we need to consider some type of a system where we amalgamate municipalities into bigger structures that are then easier to manage and that are more fiscally viable. And I think these are some of the proposals that have been on the table for some time already.
Karam, I think many like you are remaining cautiously optimistic when it comes to this one. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon and sharing your insights with us.